evening, everyone. I'd like to call this business meeting of the Board of Education for December 16th, 2024 to order. Would everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Leva, would you please go over the safety message and the welcome ground rules?
Sure. Good evening and welcome to the December 16th, 2024 meeting of the Patchogue-Medford Board of Education. In the event of emergency, please use the emergency exits located at the front and rear of the auditorium to exit the building. Do not attempt to drive away as you may impede the arrival of emergency services. Please be advised that smoking and the use of vaping products are prohibited by law on school property. When addressing the board during public comment periods, each speaker is limited to 3 minutes with no sharing of minutes. You'll be warned when 30 seconds are left, and you'll be asked to conclude after 3 minutes. Please refrain from discussing specific students or staff members. To protect their privacy, these matters should be discussed with the appropriate administrator. All questions or comments should be addressed to the Board of Education President. Thank you, and have a happy holiday.
Thank you, Mr. Leva. All right, we're going to move on to item number 6 on the agenda, presentations and reports. I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Cohen.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's my pleasure to recognize our December Employees of the Month. Going to begin with our CSC Chairperson, Janine O'Connell. Janine, come on up. Janine, you can just wait over there on the side. Janine, this recognition stems from a parent communication that came in, really recognizing and appreciating your enthusiasm and depth of knowledge about special education. The parent noted that you were very thoughtful and respectful in your approach, and that you took a vested interest in their child's journey, really learning what the child's interests were and incorporating that into the plan moving forward. So the parent noted that you demonstrated clear support in helping her child move forward in meaningful ways. We appreciate the way you made those meaningful connections with the families and with the students, and we're happy to recognize you for Employee of the Month. And you could just wait right there, Janine. Next up, I'd like to bring up Linda Kosick. Linda, come on up. So Linda is retired, but Linda really never stopped working for the district. She works as a substitute in various capacities up at our high school. Linda, you received multiple nominations for this unbelievable work ethic that you exhibit on a daily basis. Your commitment and versatility to fulfill multiple roles is greatly appreciated. Your charisma, your positive energy resonate throughout the building. You often deliver words of wisdom to support colleagues, and you are much loved by the staff. And I could truly say that I see that when I'm up at the high school. So, for all of those things, we're very fortunate to have you consistently fulfilling various roles, and we're honored to nominate you for Employee of the Month. And finally, I'd like to bring up Karen Trovich. Karen, come on up. So Karen has been providing home instruction to a Tremont student battling leukemia. The student was not able to enjoy a traditional Halloween earlier in the fall with trick-or-treating as her peers. In order to lift the spirits of this student and provide her with that opportunity, Karen visited her in the hospital and created a mock trick-or-treat setup in her hospital room, complete with 24 different buckets with treats. Wow. Talk about making an impact. And I have a picture to show, if you don't mind, Joe, if you could pull up that picture of what the hospital room looked like. And I have permission from the parent to show this picture. There you go. So really just lifting the spirits of Esther, that's Esther, and really lifting her spirits. Karen going above and beyond. I can't thank you enough. We can't thank you enough for your sincere generosity and the genuine gift that you provided Esther during a time that she didn't get to celebrate with the rest of her peers. Congratulations on this well-deserved recognition.
Mayor, I just want to commend each and every one of these 3 employees. They are very special in their own unique way, and we are very fortunate to have each of you on board. Linda, you retired, and I used to see and experience all and know your work ethic. They broke the mold with you. And you being back here just really speaks to your commitment and dedication. And for you, Karen, I don't know what to say. You are one of our exemplary kindergarten teachers. You put your heart, your soul, your energy, you're all into everything you do. But this goes above and beyond, and this just speaks to your character. And we are very blessed to have employees such as you guys. And Janine, awesome. Congratulations for Employee of the Month and all that you do to make this district stronger in the area of special education. Congratulations to each and every one of you. Well deserved.
I invite up Dr. Jones and the board to take a picture with our Employees of the Month. I have a token gift and a certificate of appreciation.
Yeah, I learned how to turn it off by you. What? Yeah, you can see about what you did for the kid. Okay, we're going to move on to item number 7, a report by ex officio student member Ella McCann.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the December 16th Board of Education business meeting. I am the student ex officio member, and I am so happy to be here as always. Before I start my monthly report, I am proud to share that I've been working with Ms. Canetti on creating a forum to encourage feedback from students on the grading policy. More on that will come in future meetings. However, I just wanted to share it with you all that we are making motions towards hearing directly from students across our district via forum. With that, let's see what's been going on in our buildings the past month. Firstly, I was very lucky to take part in one of the 2 concerts held at the high school, which were very successful. Our district clerk stopped by the Canaan Elementary and stumbled across this absolutely adorable setup in the kitchen. Miss Chrissy, senior food service worker at Canaan, outdid herself. The students were so excited about this. In River Elementary, kindergarten students received a special visit on November 7th by 2 veterans. The veterans told the students all about the military. Also, kindergarten students celebrated Thanksgiving by having a parade through the school based on the book Balloons Over Broadway. Oregon ACES students during Buddies Club wrote letters to seniors in an assisted living home for Thanksgiving. They were very appreciative of their letters that they received, and it was a fantastic experience for all involved. At Saxton, STEM students visited the Brooklyn Bridge where they embarked on new experiences outside of the middle school walls. Great job to all involved. Above are photos of the newest members of the Oregon Middle School's peer leaders. This was an induction ceremony that they had with the students, parents Dr. Cohen and councilman Neil Foley. The students all pledged to be a peer leader after they completed a 2-day training. Here are also photos from the ACES students that made all of the Oregon faculty a Thanksgiving meal. Mr. Lake and Mr. Petrosino enjoyed the meals with the students. This was an interactive and hands-on activity for all of the students, which was highly successful. Continuing, 1 Oregon middle school student and 2 Patchogue-Medford high school students were honored at the Brookhaven Town meeting to congratulate them on winning the Brookhaven Town Recycling Poster Contest. They were amongst hundreds of entries to be selected for the town recycling campaign. This is an incredible accomplishment, and we would all love to congratulate them. Tremont has also been very busy this month. Throughout November, they hosted Patchogue-Medford Library representatives to celebrate Family Literacy Month. Representatives from the library completed lessons in each classroom that focused on enhancing our children's experience with the new branch of the Patchogue-Medford Library. The representatives also provided ideas for ways to celebrate Family Literacy Month at home. Children and their families were encouraged to visit the new branch of the library and were given scavenger hunts to be completed at the library for prizes. Currently, they are in the midst of their iReady holiday celebration and contest. Plory is up and around the building as an elf, encouraging children to go onto iReady and compete for prizes. Teachers and staff have also participated in a holiday give back organized by Ms. Bruno to provide families in need with Christmas presents and enjoyment for this holiday season. South Ocean held an unforgettable 8th grade field trip to the LT Michael Murphy and Navy SEAL Museum, where the students learned about the meaning of our campus, worked collaboratively, and had a great day. Also, they held a 6th grade concert with the orchestra, band, and chorus, as well as the 7th and 8th grade with the orchestra, band, and chorus. This was an outstanding night of music that we saw amongst all of our buildings, but we just wanted to feature this one. In Canaan Elementary, they honored students who exemplify positive character traits each month. Teachers nominate students who display these qualities, and the selected students are celebrated during their monthly PTA meetings. Also, there was a celebration of Day of Code in their library class to introduce students to technology associated with coding and robotics. Students demonstrated their abilities to use coding and to operate small robots. These robots followed the desired paths that the students developed in each lesson. Coming from a CTE background, their principal was motivated to join in as a group in their activity. In honor of November's National Family Literacy Month, Eagle Elementary School also organized an interactive program that featured families participating in literacy activities with their children every Monday through Thursday. The school selected at random a family who successfully fulfilled their pledge from each grade level to receive a visit and prizes from the Eagle Reading Prize Control. Congratulations. Eagle teachers and Mrs. Guzman met with bilingual parents to discuss supports and resources for working with their children at home in order to build a stronger school and home connection. The next meeting will be Saturday, January 11th, 2025 at 10:30 a.m. at the Medford Library. Also, Eagle participated in a fun interactive assembly celebrating dance and music. Their teachers rocked it and went viral on Zonda's social media with over 20,000 views of their awesome moves. The teachers participated in a fun and interactive assembly, and they celebrated all of their moves. They rocked it. So, what an incredible month, and I wish everyone the happiest of holidays and a great start to the new year. Thank you.
Thank you, Ella, for that comprehensive report. Okay, we're going to move on to item number 8, and I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Leva.
We are open now for public comments on reports and agenda items. Please be reminded that you are limited to 3 minutes with no sharing of minutes. Nobody? I think we're good.
Hey, good evening. My name is Kyle Rotterman. My wife and I prepared a statement together, and I'm hoping that I can read the first half within the first 3 minutes, and she can follow up.
Before you go, I just want to ask, is this in relation to the items that have been presented and/or what's on the consent agenda at this point?
Yes.
Yeah, yes, that would be addressed the next part of public comments at the end of. Absolutely, but it's not part of this part of the agenda.
Okay, sure, thank
Yeah,
you.
no problem. Thank you. Okay, if there are no other comments, we'll move on to number 9, consent agenda. So we need a motion to accept the consent agenda?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Consent agenda is passed.
Thank you, everyone. Okay, we're going to move on to item number 10. That's on page 12. There were no items removed from the consent agenda for separate vote. Moving on to number 11, informational items. We have a first policy reading of number 2410, Table of Administrative Organization, and B, policy of a second reading, that would be 6145.6, attendance, deportment, and academic eligibility for participation in extracurricular activities. Number 12, there were no actions arising out of executive session. And then moving on to item 13, the superintendent's report. Dr. Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good evening to all. My report is very brief this evening. I just wanted to make the board aware that, as you all know, the Rockefeller Institute report was released at the beginning of the month. It is a 314-page document that essentially the legislators had directed as part of negotiations for last year's budget agreement with the governor that organization be tasked with reviewing the foundation aid formulas as they believe they were antiquated. So it's a 314-page document that essentially makes recommendations to the legislators as to how the formula can be updated in order to better distribute state aid and to improve the formulas. And there's a lot of recommendations in the report. I have been reviewing it very carefully in order to understand how this could potentially affect our school district. There are some things in the report that are, at this point, recommendations. We don't know which ones the legislators will take up, but it's better that we're fully prepared to understand how this could potentially affect our district so we can plan accordingly. I will continue to review and unpack this report, and as we enter the season of budgeting, you will hear more about this, and we will be providing a summary of the things that we think could affect us, how they would affect us, so that we're very well informed about the Rockefeller Institute and what it entails. So more to come. Other than that, I wish to extend my best wishes to all in attendance at this meeting this evening for a wonderful, joyful, peaceful holiday, getting some rest, well-deserved rest, and looking forward to a happy, healthy, and productive new year. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jones. Okay, we're going to move on to item 14, discussion topics, and we have none brought forth for tonight's meeting. So we're going to move on to item 15, which is committee reports.
There was yeah.
Oh, you want to bring them up now for discussion? Or you thought you were going to save it for the community comments? I thought that was, but we can.
Okay, that's going to be after. My apologies. I thought you missed it.
Right, I didn't forget.
My apologies.
It's all good.
I
It's
just
all
want to make sure.
Well, we didn't forget. Gotcha. Okay, so we're going to go to committee reports, and we're going to start with buildings and operations. That's Trustee Krieger.
You're going to have to come back to me because I'm having technical difficulties.
Not a problem. You let me know when you're ready. Okay, all right. Next will be finance, which is Trustee D'Onofrio.
So we have our tentative, as I said in the last meeting, our tentative date is set now for January 16th, 6:30 at the high school, room 214. An agenda will go out to the committee as soon as Frank's back from being out. So he should be back hopefully in a week, and we'll be able to send out the agenda. But again, the things that Dr. Joan talked about are some of the items that are on the agenda, because those are critical to the overall finance of the district.
Thank you, Trustee D'Onofrio. Okay, up next is district-wide technology, which is my department. Technology has not had a meeting in the month of December because we had one late in November, but we're very excited to announce that today the district launched its redesigned website. The redesign was guided by feedback from parents, teachers, staff, and students. The goal was to create a streamlined and user-friendly experience that focuses on most frequently used areas. The streamlined design was based on a cleaner, less is more type of theme to approach and simplify the navigation through the website. Next is an updated calendar, which is enhanced filtering options to narrow selections, including team athletic-specific schedules. There's also contact information, which is easier to access to key contacts across the district, but you can always reach out to Mrs. DeLeva for any information that you may need on contact. And there have been many other upgrades, features, and informational links and tabs added to the website. It's very, very, very comprehensive. I'd also like to add, based on the fact that this is technology and it is my committee, we also added a detailed text copy description and a video explanation section discussing the board committees. So from now on, you can go onto the website, see the board committees, the minutes, what's going on, what's coming up next, when the next appointment is, as well as just to give you an example of how that works. Okay, real simple. So you go onto the Board of Education website, or I'm sorry, the district website, then you go to the Board of Education tab. When you get there, you're going to click on Board of Education. Then the next screen, you'll come up and you'll click the red bar and it'll say in this section, okay? Then you would click on Board Committees, and then next you would do, there'd be an introduction to each committee, and then a text and video comprehensive statement about what each committee does, as well as how, what the initiatives are. That's in conjunction with adding minutes and the, when the meetings are and so on and so forth. So this is a really, really big addition to the website, and it was I did it today. As soon as the website was launched, I went on, bing, bang, boom. It took less than 30 seconds to get to where I wanted to go. So it's really, really comprehensive, and it worked. So thank you very much to the technology department and Mr. Richworth and his whole team. So these updates make it easier for you to find information you need to enhance communication across the district. Hopefully we'll get some more feedback. People that are using it can let us know what they think. If there's anything else, we're very open to that conversation. Okay? And with that, our next meeting is going to be February 5th in the South Ocean Conference Room at 4:30 p.m. How you doing down there, Trustee Krieger?
I was kind of locked out of my email today, so it's just kind of coming in.
All right, so I'll move on. No problem. Okay, so now we're going to go to extracurricular program, which is going to be both Trustee Jennings and Vice President Andrade.
We haven't had a meeting yet. and December meeting was canceled, so our next meeting is January 8th at 5:15.
Thank you, ladies. Okay, next is instructional and student support programs, which is going to be Trustee Salazar.
Really, there's nothing to report since our last Board of Education meeting. We have not had a meeting since, but we will be having one in January. The date I don't have, I was looking for it. Do we have that one off the top? It's in January. I was looking for it, I didn't see it.
Moving on. Okay, the last committee,
January what?
9th.
9th, there we go. January 9th, we will be meeting South Ocean Middle School. Was it 1:20? Was it? 4:30. Yeah, no, I know, 4:30. I was trying to get the room.
In the conference room?
Thank you. Yes, in the conference room. That's the room.
Thank you, Trustee Salazar.
Yeah, anytime.
Okay, moving on to legislation, and that would be Trustee Smith.
Legislation did not meet because our meeting was going to be basically within a day of the releasing of the Rockefeller report, and there was a lot of information to come in that we needed to distill, so we sent the information to our committee members, and our next meeting will be the first week in January. And Trustee Salazar and I having a spectacular job for getting dates. Dr. Cohen, do you remember when our meeting is? What's that?
First day we come back.
First day we come back. Great, and it'll be a Zoom meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Smith. Trustee Krieger?
I'm doing this from memory. So Mr. Mazie was out ill this week, so Mr. Noonan and I held the meeting. For some reason, my paper has disappeared, and I can't get it in my email. So we went over the interfund, the approved interfund transfer projects, and we spoke about our bond projects. We did say that on the new website, which I did go on today, at the top of the homepage now, there's a little red box that says capital projects, and you can go in there and see how everything is progressing, and it's right there all the time. We could go over the energy performance contract, and then we talked about, which we're going to have to talk about more, because it did happen, is what would happen with our bond project if Governor Hochul signed into contract the temperature, the 88-degree maximum temperature school, which she did. We were kind of hoping she wouldn't until at least our stuff was ordered, because it kind of puts us ahead of everybody in the queue, because we do have our stuff, so we still are ahead of everybody, and they're a couple steps behind us, because they still have to do all their projections and planning, so we are ahead of the game. We did not discuss a next meeting date yet, because like I said, Mr. Mazie wasn't there, but we are going to have one in January. I'm not sure of the date, I will let you know, but February we're going to skip, because we'll be right in the height of the budget season, and we'll have a bunch of budget meetings, so we're going to just take a break for that, and then come back in March right after the vote.
Thank you, Trustee Krieger.
And sorry, I'm very disorganized.
Okay, we're going to move on to item number 16. So I'm going to hand it back over to Mrs. DeLeva to go over the ground rules.
Okay, this is the time for public comments. You're limited to 3 minutes. You'll be notified when you have 30 seconds left. No sharing of minutes. Please address all comments to the board president.
My wife and I, Elizabeth, are here, so we wanted to...
I'm sorry again to interrupt, but before you start, just state your name and your address.
Kyle Rotterman, 2 Gale Lane in East Patchogue. Elizabeth Rotterman. So we're here to express our concerns regarding the district's grading policy and the newly implemented ELA curriculum. While these initiatives may have appeared promising on paper, we feel their real-world implementation has revealed some unintended challenges. We want to share our son's experience to shed light on these issues and propose a shift toward better supporting the students' individual needs. I understand that the district's grading policy was designed with good intentions, aiming to create equitable opportunities, particularly for students who are disadvantaged. However, we believe the current approach is too generalized and does not prioritize the differentiation of instruction, which is essential for addressing the unique needs of all students. My son, Shay, who's here tonight, is a 7th grader at Saxton Middle School, and while he's a strong and diligent student, he does struggle with organization, time management, and test anxiety. Despite these challenges, he works hard to stay engaged and produce quality work. His report card and progress report comments reflect his dedication. We've been told he demonstrates positive qualities, is cooperative and well-mannered, meeting grade level expectations, produces excellent work, demonstrates excellent classroom habits, and is a positive addition to the classroom environment. He also made the honor roll this period, so we're proud of him for that. But as you can see, our son consistently contributes to class and completes his assignments. His classwork grades are typically 100, and he rarely misses a homework assignment. However, despite this strong effort, he has consistently struggled on tests, often failing due to anxiety, difficulty focusing, and poor time management. The disconnect between his efforts and test performance has negatively impacted his grades. The district's current grading policy, which heavily emphasizes test scores, does not accommodate students like my son, who may understand the material but struggles in a test-taking environment. After speaking with his teachers and regularly supporting him with homework and study sessions, we're confident in his understanding of the content. However, the grading system does not always reflect his understanding, and the weight placed on tests undermines his academic confidence. It also reinforces a damaging belief that his test scores define intelligence, when in reality, effort and understanding are equally important. Previously, teachers had the discretion to allow test corrections, giving the students opportunity to reinforce their learning and reward effort. This practice was beneficial for students who demonstrated consistent work but struggled on tests. I understand
30 seconds.
I understand the importance of holding students accountable, but I also believe we should trust our teachers, who are highly trained professionals and know their students, to make decisions that best support their learning, rather than imposing one-size-fits-all policies that limit their ability to differentiate instruction. While equality in grading policies may sound fair, it does not necessarily equate to equity. Equity ensures that each student receives the support they need to succeed, which often requires individualized attention. Unfortunately, the current grading policy fails to account for these differences. My wife is going to follow up with the second half. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Rotterman.
Good evening. My name is Elizabeth Rotterman. I also have concerns about the new ELA program, SAVIS. My son is in 7th grade, so that's the ELA program they're working on this year. The district introduced this program with the goal of improving state test scores, but after reviewing the content, I believe that it's not appropriately tailored for students' grade level expectations. The reading passages and questions are often too challenging, leaving students struggling to keep up. For example, my son and many other students have been working on a unit for over a month, only to receive a 50 on the unit test. Does this mean that even a high-performing student is only expected to grasp half of the material? While I appreciate the administration's decision not to count the first unit test due to its unfair difficulty, the subsequent quiz was equally challenging and unreasonable. At parent-teacher conferences, I had the opportunity to ask questions about SAVIS, and I found out that all reading is being taught through these online passages, and that there's not really time for novel units. I'd like to point out that teaching a child to read means teaching them to think deeply. Deep thought is provoked when a student is interested in what they're reading. This is not the level of engagement that we will see with these articles. We might create better test takers, but it does not equate to better readers. I urge you to consider revising both the grading policy and the curriculum to better support the diverse needs of all students. This might include reevaluating the emphasis on test scores and giving teachers the flexibility to implement differentiated strategies based on individual student needs. I'd also like if you could reassess the reading program to ensure that it's aligned with grade level expectations and truly helps students improve their skills. I do appreciate your time and consideration. I do understand that there were committees put together to discuss both of these topics. The last time we were here, we were told we should join a committee. And while I know that our input would be very helpful, we are contributing to our community in other ways, like running Girl Scout troops and holding band practice and coaching wrestling. And, you know, as parents, just because we're not here doesn't mean that we're not involved and that we don't care. So I appreciate the committee's work, but I hope that you can take our experience into consideration.
Thank you very much for sharing that, Mrs. Rotterman.
Hi, good evening. I'm Christine Acevedo, 57 Madsenay Drive. Good evening, members of the board, administration, and community. My name is Christine Acevedo, and I'm here tonight as a deeply concerned parent and as an educator with a broad perspective. I'm a proud PatMed alum. I serve as a 22-year veteran teacher with an administrative certification, teachers union vice president, and instructional coach in a neighboring school district. These roles provide me with an insight into how policies shape the experiences of both students and educators. I'm here to address the new grading policy, which, while undoubtedly well-intentioned, is being implemented without the necessary systems and structures to support it. Policy implementation, as you know, is not merely about making a decision, it is about ensuring the conditions are right for that decision to succeed. Leadership principles emphasize the importance of creating systems that align with organizational goals and ensure the importance of creating systems that align with the readiness for this change. When policies are introduced without adequate preparation or stakeholder involvement, they often cause unintended harm. And this seems to be exactly what we are seeing here in PatMed. The phrase, building the plane while flying it, seems to come to mind. It is an apt metaphor for what we are experiencing. Implementing a major change like this grading policy without the proper systems in place has resulted in confusion, inconsistency, and frustration among educators, parents, and most importantly, our students and our children. This is not a criticism of the intent behind the policy, but rather a call for better planning and execution. Effective implementation requires several critical steps. First, the clear communication. Policies need to be fully explained to all the stakeholders. Teachers, parents, and students must understand not only what is changing, but also why this critical change was necessary and how it aligns to our collective goals as a district. In this case, many parents, and I'm sure some teachers, feel left in the dark. For example, we attended the Saxton open house, and we listened intently to all of our child's teachers. Not one of the presentations mentioned that alternate day full year courses would not be given scores for quarters 1 through 3. Not one. So we were surprised when just days before report cards were released to find out that we were not going to see grades for those courses. The second critical step that seems to have been missed is the professional development and training. Teachers are the ones who are implementing this policy, and they need thorough training and resources to apply this change effectively. Without this, the policy can become burdensome and rather than a tool for improvement. In my own district, when we revised our grading policy, we spent over a year building teacher capacity prior to this rollout. Here, it seems that this critical step was overlooked. It is for this reason so many parents are complaining about teachers creating summative assessments with 3 questions. 3 questions on a summative assessment, that seems a little ridiculous. There's inconsistency in allocation of similar tasks to different categories, which seems to have harmed some students' averages. Clearly, teachers are not adequately trained on the implementation of this policy. Which leads me to my last point, the lack of the support system. When systems are not in place to address this changes, chaos ensues. For instance, if the policy aims to create equity by reducing inconsistencies in teacher assessment practices, what systems have been provided for addressing these resulting workload increase? So now I'm going to yield to my husband.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts and concerns.
Gene Acevedo, 57 Madsenay Drive, Medford. Good evening, members of the board, administration, and community. My name is Gene Acevedo, and as my wife stated, I too am an educator. I've taught global and U.S. history, as well as many elective courses at Huntington High School for the past 17 years. I've taught these courses in both English and Spanish, so I am no stranger to the needs of a diverse population of learners like we have here at Pat Med, which is why I'm here to speak on the topic of the grading policy. The repercussions of implementing this grading policy prematurely are already evident. Teachers are struggling to manage the new expectations, leading to inconsistent applications and inappropriate assessment of students, the exact opposite intention of the plan's creation. Parents, like myself, are frustrated by these unintended results and unclear communication, eroding trust in the system. And most importantly, students are caught in the middle, with some feeling less accountable for their work and others receiving mixed messages about expectations, or worse, their own self-image as students. Our son, who is a high-achieving student and takes his grades very seriously, asked us to convey this sentiment. He said, "It makes me feel like I did all that work for nothing in the first quarter. I worked really hard, and I know I have good grades in those classes, but now it doesn't say that on my report card, so it doesn't even count." Now, our son doesn't need 100 in his course of financial management or band. It won't change his GPA significantly. But what about a student who needs that 100 to boost that GPA? What about the creative child whose art class is always his or her highest grade, and now that alternate day class isn't going to show up on the report card? Why? Because their art teacher is one cumulative assessment short this quarter. We urge this board to pause and reflect on the principles of effective leadership as stated by Michael Fullen. As he states, effective change is not imposed. It is embraced when stakeholders are part of the process. Let's take the time to involve all voices, teachers, parents, students, and administrators, to refine this policy and first build the systems needed for its success. Let's start by allowing our educators to create the common assessments needed for them to assess students before we mandate that they do so. We owe it to our students to get this right. Educational policies should never feel like experiments. They should feel, and be well-planned frameworks that provide clarity and consistency. We are asking for a commitment to review this policy and ensure it is supported by the systems our students and educators deserve. Thank you for your time, and we appreciate your dedication to the success of our students and children. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Acevedo. All right, I'd like to share, based on the conversation and the concerns by the parents, the Watermans and the Acevedos, that we're going to take this under advisement. We will have a conversation and discussion, and we'll report out in January. Okay? Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Thank you for all the comments. I appreciate the feedback from the community. Just wanted to point out that we did have a committee. This policy was a 2-year policy that was worked on through our instructional committee. So that consists of community members, teachers, administrators, and students sat on that committee. So the policy was in development for 2 years before it actually went to the board for readings. In terms of feedback from teachers, I work very closely with Mr. Tulin, our president of the union. We sent out multiple surveys to all of our teachers regarding each area of the policy, asking for feedback regarding the percentages on the formative and informative. We asked for feedback on test corrections. We asked for feedback on extra help. All of those surveys were reviewed by the committee, and obviously changes were made even when we got those surveys from what we initially put in. As Ella has indicated, we also are now in the process of putting a survey out to our students, and I have been examining data to look at the student failure rates this year versus in years prior, and looking at any differences in actual GPA scores. So I want you to know that we are
constantly looking at a policy to see if there are any changes that need to be put forward. I will say in terms of differentiation, we support differentiation, and that has to come from classroom instruction. We have to be very careful about giving students different exams when we're assessing them on a report card. So that is one thing that we do support differentiation in the delivery of how we work with our students, but when students are giving an assessment, the entire class should be given the same assessments. Extra credit is allowed, and I think that's something that I want to be very specific, and I've said this at multiple board meetings. That is up to the teachers. The policy does not say extra credit, test corrections are not permitted. We are very specific in that policy, but it does have to be agreed upon so all students in a school within a course have the same opportunity for extra credit. So I'm happy to report out in a larger forum some of the concerns brought forth, but I think it is important to know as a community that this was not just a policy that was created in isolation. This was a policy, many surveys, and it actually was a 2-year commitment that we made for revising our grading policy.
Thank you, Mrs. Kennedy.
On the committee, if I can share with you, there was a lot of discussion, specifically from the parents who sat on our committee, about the 3 middle schools. And many of the parents asked really specifically that they felt that it was a must that all 3 middle schools should be consistent, that a child up at Oregon and a child in Saxon and a child in South Ocean, there was huge discrepancies in how teachers were grading amongst the 3 middle schools. We are one district. There is many opportunities for our teachers to collaborate. We have faculty meetings monthly. We have department meetings each year. They have a professional learning community period every day. Right, but they have common professional learning communities within their department every day. So if at the end of an assessment, we are debriefing on how students performed on an assessment, that can be immediate. It can be immediate because we built that into... I would say that this year, and I would have to go back to look at the PLC schedule, and I will say that this year we tried to make a commitment that English teachers in Saxton have the same PLC periods as English teachers, and I see Dr. Kelly, because that was something that our building principals worked on. Because we knew we had a new program this year, and it was our first year, that was a priority for us. So second period English teachers, professional learning community period, is the same period across all 3 middle schools. We specifically asked our APs to build that And it was challenging, but we were very committed to the new rollout, and we wanted our teachers to be able to collaborate it. We wanted our directors to be able to zoom in and be able to speak to the teachers at the same time. So again, I acknowledge and I appreciate our community coming out and sharing some of their concerns. I took a lot of notes here, and I look forward to, sharing some additional information with you at future meetings.
Thank you, Mrs. Kennedy.
And I won't be too rude, I'm sorry. I'm passionate, but it's because I'm passionate about education and my children. And it isn't a reflection on how I feel about anything personally. I do understand the desire for everybody to have equal opportunities, but not before we consider individual needs. Because my child's teacher shouldn't have to ask permission from all of the other teachers across the district in their department if they can modify something to meet my child's need. They're all professionals. We trust them. We are very happy, for the most part, with everything that we've experienced in this district. And the teachers need to have some autonomy to be able to meet the students where they're at.
We will report out in January. We are taking seriously, under advisement, all of the things that you have shared this evening, and we will further report out in January. Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, thank you again for your thoughts and concerns. Okay, we're going to move on to item number 17, which are board comments. So I'll start down at the end of the dais. Trustee Salazar.
Yeah. I want to thank the community for coming out and speaking their mind and letting us know how they feel about what's going on, and we do take this very, very seriously. I do want to assure you that I am in the instructional committee, and it is a topic of conversation that we are going through, and we're reviewing it. And anytime you're putting in a new policy, there are bumps that need to be ironed, there are things we need to examine. And, we are looking at it, and we are taking it very seriously. So I don't want anybody to think that this is something we brush off. So I do want to thank everybody for coming out and letting us know what's going on. I would also like to, wish everybody here and along on the dais and in the crowd a very happy holidays. I want to take time out, spending with their families, enjoy it, and enjoy the break. And we'll see you guys
next year.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Salazar. Trustee Krieger.
Just the same thing, I wanted to say thank you for coming out. It is good to hear the voices of everybody in the community. Quite a few of us are parents as well, so we hear it, so we know what you guys are thinking and hearing, and we bring it back, and it is discussed. I just wanted to give a little bit of a shout out to the high school for their Spanish Theater Company production, which was great. And I'm working on my Spanish right now, but I did understand what was going on, and it was a fantastic production. And then also the concerts, I went to quite a few middle school concerts and the high school concerts, and it's always amazing to see the difference between the middle school 6th, and then the 7th, 8th, and then the high school, and I can't wait to see the littles in January. So happy holidays to everybody. Hope everybody enjoys the break with your family and your friends, and we all come back refreshed.
Thank you, Trustee Krieger. Trustee Smith.
I will be brief. Happy holidays. And thank you for coming out, and that's nerve-wracking, that microphone. I get it. Thank you for taking the time and the effort to do that, because it's important that we do take these comments very, very seriously. And thank you for offering your words. And happy holidays.
And you did excellently in your concert. I saw your special appearance in the concert and in your Saxton night.
Thank you, Trustee Smith. Trustee D'Onofrio?
Sure. Again, we all appreciate you coming out and giving us the feedback. I know Mrs. Kennedy appreciates that. And as Mr. Salazar said, this isn't just like a knee-jerk reaction, hey, let's throw this policy out there. They spent a lot of time on it, And it's understandable that, maybe not every part of it is going to be worked out 100%, but you can see how certain aspects of it, they are thinking about it. They're saying we have to have a cohesive department view. When you're talking about that, I looked over toward Dr. Jones, and we're like saying it's department-based. It's not school-based. So, but those things may not, from a procedural or functional aspect, be working 100%, at this point. And I appreciate you saying unintentional, because certainly that is true. Nobody here is trying to do anything to hurt any student. The board spent a considerable amount of time with the review of the policy, and Mrs. Kennedy did an outstanding job of presenting options of different ways of doing it and how the way that we were looking at it would actually benefit more students than not. But the other aspect you're talking about is what I call authentic learning. And I think that's the hardest part of any large education system. I don't consider myself to be a teacher in the sense of a professional teacher. I am a trainer. I do training for my business. But one of the things that I strive for is nobody leaves that room until they understand exactly what we're talking about. And that's hard when you're dealing with a group of students who all may or may not be learning at exactly the same rate. And I think that's part of what you're talking about here from student to student. And yeah, we do need to have systems that allow us to say, I want every student to go from, section 1 to section 2, and they understand everything in section 1 before we get to section 2. And that doesn't always happen. In many cases, student goes on, they go to the next section, they don't quite understand everything that happened in section 1, now they're in section 2. And that kind of wave effect, cumulative effect, means that when they get to section 6, there's a lot of pieces of sections 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that they didn't quite understand. And it's definitely something that I know we all strive for. I'm not saying that we just throw it out and don't care about it, but it is hard. And as educators that we have out there, you understand that. You have students that maybe needs to come for extra help because they're not quite getting it. And I'm sure you offer that, and you're sure you work with them. And those are some of the things that, our teachers do the same. Our teachers have those periods where they can, have students come in. And as a community, we all work on that. I know, again, as parents, we made sure that if our child wasn't, meeting a criteria, or if they got a test and they didn't do well, the first thing was, go get extra help on that, and don't just go past that and not understand it. So those are a lot of the things that we need to, again, focus on. I'm not big about grading. It's not a contest, although it is a contest. And I always found that to be one of the problems in our system. Everybody gets a grade, Somebody is going to be number 1. Do I really care if somebody's number 1 or somebody's number 250 or number 650? I understand. What's more important is that what they took from this education system, and I know as Pat-Med grad, moving on in your life and being able to be, functional adults and have a prosperous life is important. And hopefully we've given our students all of that so that they can move on. I know when I gave my president's speech at graduation, I said that, we're going to have successful students, not just the doctor or the lawyer, but, the husband or the wife who's a homemaker who raises their children, all those things are just so important. So, back to the testing, I know we'll look at it. I know we'll make it better. I appreciate, as you say, you can't be involved in everything. You're involved in other things, and that's great because we need people involved in those things as well. Oh, absolutely. That's why you're here. That's why you're not sitting at home tonight and not, participating in this. And we need more of that. And I know this board has sat up here and said that over and over again. We so appreciate it when the community comes out. And when the community doesn't come out, what do you think we think? Oh, everything's okay. Well, not even doesn't care, but everything's okay. There's no problem, but we do need to hear that. And the administration takes that to heart. They don't just think, oh, look, if nobody said anything, Mrs. Kennedy would think, hey, my system is perfect, don't worry about it. So we really appreciate it. Thank you very much for coming out. Thank you, everybody who came out tonight. Again, ditto, everybody have a great holiday. Hopefully, you know, get some time with your children, with your family, and we'll get rolling in 2025.
Thank you, Trustee D'Onofrio.
And I'm going to say one last thing. And for what it's worth, everybody up here started doing stuff that you're doing. Say it.
Trustee Jennings.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for coming out and hearing your concerns, because I know what the struggle is like as a parent of a high schooler for this quarter. So I know it's something that we have brought our concerns, and definitely it's a working document that we're constantly working on. Just really quickly, back to at my BOCES meeting, we talked about what's coming up as the science of reading and the science of teaching. So now looking to the best practices of pre-K to 3. To support. So next fall, sorry, Dr. Jones, all superintendents will have to have an attestation form to focus on the literacy that will align to the standards and the science of reading. And there'll be 7 bulletins, which are phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, comprehension, print concepts, and background knowledge. So that would be coming next fall. And then on top of the regionalization update, Commissioner Rosa did send out that clarification letter that was due into Regent Tillis, who told her to make it more so that more parents and educators and Board of Eds would be able to understand it more. The frequently asked questions will be updated, and then BOCES will have a formal convene of all who have submitted the survey sometime in January.
Thank you.
Oh,
Trustee
happy holidays, everyone.
Go,
Sorry.
go. Trustee Andrade.
Okay. Yeah, thank you to all who came out. I just have, we don't have to answer the question, but maybe just was wondering when the survey will go out to the students that you're working on with Ella, and if it could possibly be ready by our next
So the
board meeting.
survey is created.
Okay.
We have all the questions. We made a few revisions last time, and we're sending it out once we get back from vacation. It was just a very busy time, and due to my absence, I wanted to make sure a thorough letter went out to the teachers, and we had, one of the things Ellen and I spoke about is the survey is only as good as the students who take it. And we had many conversations that sometimes we give a survey to students and they don't take it, right? So we're not getting great responses. So we talked about, you know, different ways that we could maybe really make sure the students are taking it and make sure it happens at a specific period during the day or in a specific class, that it's, you know, coming from me, that it is a requirement that the students answer it to the best of their ability. I am also working with Mr. Tulin, and we will be creating a similar survey for our staff members. I did just want to point out one thing. I'm not sure, one of the community members did mention the A-Day, B-Day courses. I did write a letter to the community at the very beginning of the year. It was a letter from me that went out to all the community members about the A-Day, B-Day courses. And I know you get a lot of information at the beginning of the year, but it did go out on a parent square, and I specifically explained to the parents what was happening with the A-Day, B-Day full year courses.
Thank you, Mrs. Kennedy.
Really quickly, about Parent Square, is there any way to really emphasize that important stuff? Because I feel like Parent Square is great, but a lot of the important information gets lost. And I'm saying that even as a parent, like, I'll say that for me, I know the ring day happened this weekend. I was like, we didn't know anything about it because it comes in the beginning of the week and then it's like gone, and then you're like scrolling through. So I'm talking about the ring day, like the ring flyer, because whole debacle with that. But it's like on Parent Square, and then it gets lost, and then you have to like find it. So is there a way to like something like that to be a highlighted thing that, you know, it could be easier?
One of the things we can do is something that is applicable to more than one school, that it has a level of district level importance, can come out from either Mrs. Kennedy or myself. I often send out messages that go district-wide, and they typically are well-reviewed. So maybe we can send things out, and then it can be reinforced at the building level so that it's more than one time that it is received.
This might be a technology question, but is there a way to differentiate within the app that this kind of information is that color and this kind of information is that color, which might help the parents with this is a scheduling thing and that's blue. And
I think that could get challenging if you have more than one child. Because if you have more than one child, the colors may lose their meaning depending on what grade level, what color is reflective of what. Are you saying, I just want to make sure I understand.
No, like
so
specifically-
high alert.
Oh, you can do that for sure, but also like anything that has to do with a calendar issue would be X color. Anything that is an important information from the superintendent's office is that color.
I could also work to make sure, if there is a letter, again, I could make sure nothing else gets sent out on Parent Square that day, other than my letter, right? We can make it a priority. Like today, unless you have anything, that's the only thing that goes out, so it's only one thing that parents are looking at, rather than maybe multiple items on Parent Square. So I can certainly work with James to see if that's an option. If something is coming from me, that I need to make sure that the parents are reading it, that we limit anything else on Parent
We can
Square.
do that. We just have to.
It might be a better, just another option to consider.
We can definitely do that. We've done it before.
Continue, sorry. Okay. Teacher survey, anonymous?
All the surveys are anonymous,
Well,
even the
chil-
student survey.
students. Okay, great. Okay, and I don't know if this is a question or a statement, but I know when my boys, I think both of them, when they were in middle school, they definitely read 3 to 4 novels. And I really do hope that between, sorry, I don't know what's
No,
happening.
we do have novels, and I just want to point that out. Novels are built in. We actually did curriculum work because there are some novels that are excerpts from in Savvis that are actually the novels we read. So it's a natural match. So to say we are doing novels, I want to make sure that. Okay, so I think we just need to speak offline, because I would like to know what teacher is telling you that, because we have a very strict curriculum that we wrote over the summer, and novels are included in that. So I don't think this is the forum to speak about that, but I'd love the opportunity to know what specific teacher told you that information. That would be very helpful. So I'd like to know, again, personally, who shared that with you, because that's sharing false information to the community, and we have to be a little careful of that. So I'll speak to you up. I understand that, but by saying we don't read novels is not accurate when novels are built into our curriculum. I would have to look up the scope and sequence, which I was trying to pull up right now, but we have multiple novels that were changed over the summer. Yeah, absolutely.
And then if we could just share that information with us,
Yeah,
that would be
we can
great.
share it,
So I
absolutely.
appreciate that.
Mrs. Canetti, perhaps as part of the presentation for January, we can, but I do think an offline conversation would be helpful, because I know that novels are definitely a requirement in the scope and sequence, so we want to make sure we understand where the disconnect is. Thank you.
Okay, and just the last thing that I wanted to say about ELA and Savis, and I don't know if they're still iReady doing, for me, you know, it's always been important that we have those novels, and we're not doing all the reading online. So I don't know really what it looks like right now, so maybe, like I said, sharing a little report of what it looks like in a day of how, you know, how the program, how are we balancing the online reading compared to the hands in the book reading. I would be very curious to have that information.
And the board, we did actually add time, because we went to
Yes, an extra.
a double a ELA block to add more time,
Yep.
to offer our English teachers the opportunity to cover more. So we actually have a period and a half of ELA this school year.
Yep, thank you.
The period and a half, that's 6th, 7th, and 8th, or just 6th and 7th?
Sixth period has a double period every
Seventh has
day.
the-
Seventh has a period and a half. Eighth grade still has one period, and the high school, all the classes are a single period.
I got you, okay.
Okay, and everyone, happy holidays.
Okay, I just wanted to share that on behalf of the board and the administration, that everything we do is to maximize student outcomes and their ability to achieve at the highest level. So the fact that you brought your concerns to us tonight shows that there's community engagement. We need as much of that as possible so we can continue to move forward. Like I said earlier, we'll have the conversation, and Ms. Canetti already said that she would report out in January, so we'll move forward with that. But most importantly, having the community here sharing their thoughts is what makes change. So if you think that there's something that you need to bring it, and we're here to listen. That's why we're here, okay? So obviously you can't change everything in one day, but we have to start somewhere, and you brought it here tonight, and we started the process, and again, Ms. Canetti will share it in January. I want to reiterate what everybody said about the holiday concerts at the middle schools and the high school. They were outstanding. You know, listening to the high school play in all their different capacities is like going to Broadway. It's an amazing thing, and if you haven't acknowledged it or seen it because you don't have a child in the high school, you should go. It's an amazing time. As far as the holidays are concerned, we're here. We wish you all a very healthy and happy New Year, and enjoy the holidays with your family, and to ensure that the time you spend with your family is maximized to its highest level, because it only comes once. So thank you for all that. Okay? All right. So with that, I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Who's Diana and Bernadette? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Enjoy